Hey guys, I'm Andre and you're watching the Arizona Breakdown. So, today I am joined by Cody and David from the Arizona pop punk band After the Calm. So, you guys have been making some big moves this year. So, for anyone that isn't up to date with the band, can you guys give a little bit of a rundown for what you guys have been up to this year?
Let's see. Well, definitely the biggest thing was Warped Tour this year.
Yeah.
So that was one of those big surprises because we felt last year like we really pushed for it. We did all this work, and then this year it was like, whoa, we did like just entered a Reverb Nation thing, and then all of a sudden
Hell yeah.
they asked us. They're like, yeah, you want a spot, and we're like, well, obviously we're not going to say no to that, but
It's still surreal to think that Warped Tour is a thing. And like the last Warped Tour too, of all Warped Tours, and I don't know. We really did try last year. There was like a competition where we were entering for points and stuff.
Right.
That never panned out. But then this year to be invited by Reverb Nation and then play, it was just surreal being there, being on stage, and just being able to see everybody at Warped Tour is crazy.
It was super hot, but we almost all died and got, but we even had, like, there was a few people that we actually brought back to our tent from dehydration, like they're really passing out.
Oh yeah. We had our tent set up with shading just to try to stay out of the sun, but there were people like dropping just outside of our tent.
It was crazy.
Paramedics just like rushing and dragging them, and they had dragged somebody into our tent to give her water and like just try to
bring
keep
her back to, keep her alive.
Keep her from passing out. Yeah, it's crazy. Warped Tour was very hot. We played our set. It was early, thank God, because it wasn't like once it like peaked with temperatures.
Yeah.
But
Right.
we were able to play. Like enough people were able to get in, and it's crazy. I did a video of like when they opened the doors, and it was just like that scene in Jurassic Park with all the dinosaurs coming over. just everybody flocking. I'll have to see if we can find that video. I don't think we ever posted it, but it was just crazy seeing everybody flood in. It was just like a swarm of animals.
And I think it's personally, it's one of those like things that come full circle. When you're a kid and you go to Warped Tour, you're there and you're like, hey, I want to play this, and then to actually one day actually get to do it. That's just like, it comes full circle, and you get like super psyched about that. And I think anybody will. And it's just one of those. And I'm really hoping that they keep on something, even if it's not a national Warped Tour, that it's select cities or small runs or whatever.
They're gonna have to do something.
Yeah.
If it's not Warped Tour, someone else will capitalize on.
The
idea.
Yeah, because it's definitely something that's like very, it's just had such a huge impact.
Yeah.
In terms of bands that I've fell in love with and things like that, and so my entire musical taste has been based off of bands that have played Warped Tour.
Hell yeah.
So it's just one of those things. But yeah, that was a big thing that happened this year.
As far as 2018, I think that would be like the biggest highlight. We've done other things, like we released 3 songs this year. We had put out an EP in 2016 where it was a total of 5 songs. It was our first like here's who we are. And then from there we started, I think we released 1 single in between then, that was Greenway. This year we kind of came at it thinking, what do we want to do for our songs? We didn't really want to do a whole other EP, but we also wanted to be able to release more than just a song. So we wrote with 3 different ideas just to see where is everybody going to lean towards. And it's been pretty cool. We released them 1 month at a time, and just seeing which songs that people kind of gravitate towards. It's pretty cool.
And because like they're definitely 3 different genres in a way. It's like we got our heavy one, which was Captive, which we had so many comments saying, what are you guys doing? This is the sound you guys need to be doing. And then we had the more lighter Porcelain song that's definitely just more on the, I guess, the poppy end of things. But it was like, we got so much love for that, and then we went back technically, as Logan would say, to our roots, which is the more just pop punk of Stuck on Repeat, and that's our last one, and people are loving that one too. So it's one of those things where we're like, well, no matter what, it seems that everybody's getting satisfied in some kind of way.
Yeah.
It's like we're catering. I wouldn't say we're catering, but the things that we actually released, our friends that are into the heavier stuff love that. And then on the lighter end, they're also getting that too. So
I think to an extent it was experimental on our end. We just wanted to see what do people like from us, and really it's going to help us figure out what do we want to start writing next. So I think
it's it's kind of funny because I actually think it's a little bit of both. Like, and what I mean by that is we'll always create whatever we want to, you know, in terms of what we're feeling, but at the same time, we also know which audience now is gonna react to what.
Yeah.
That's what. So I guess that's like the best way to be able to, you know, what we're about to release. We're like, oh, we know our friends on this are gonna love this, or we know our friends on this are gonna love this. So I think it's helping us being able to help narrow down our audiences for each song that we release.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with having that many potentially different genres in your toolkit and in your discography, that definitely, well, that actually leads into a follow-up question. So with Arizona being so diverse as far as the different music scenes that you'll find here, how do you guys find that being a pop punk band in a scene that is so, well, it's somewhat heavily dominated by metal, but there are also so many different other like rock, pop punk and other multiple genres in here. How do you guys find a way to fit in that, or stand out rather?
I would say fit in is pretty easy, just because, like, again, with writing different types of songs, it opens up our possibilities of what shows we want to play. For instance, if we take an offer from someone who's putting together a metal show, we're going to put our heavier songs in the lineup. That way we're catering to the crowd we're playing in front of. We fit in with those bands. If we're playing much lighter, you know, alternative, we're going to stick to our pop punk songs. So it's really just who do we know we're going to be in front of, and what songs do we think that they're going to want to hear. It's a lot of planning in that sense, but
it definitely helps us in certain ways. It's like if we didn't have this wide range, we probably wouldn't have been able to do that. You know what I mean? So it's like we've been building our catalog more and more, and it makes it easier and easier and easier to be able to play these different types of shows. Whereas at the very beginning, they would ask us to play some pop punk, and all we have is some or heavier stuff. You know, in what we think was heavier, not even what they, you know, assumed was heavy. And it was kind of hard at the beginning, but now I feel that we have enough songs that we can actually make those decisions.
I feel like because of that, we're able to eat, or we're able to meet all kinds of different bands. Like you said, the metal bands, we can expose ourselves with them by playing those kinds of songs. And I don't know, we've met a lot of people. I think it's still, there's so many bands out there that I'm still hearing about that I had no clue they were out there. And it's just like, there's so many more people out there, and that's just, Arizona is awesome. I mean, it's our home, so we love the music scene. It's just really a matter of how can you get out there and meet new people.
Because the talent here in Arizona is ridiculous, actually. Like it just didn't reveal itself, you know, to me until I guess I was in a band. Like to as much, you know, it's when you start meeting some of these bands that we constantly are on tour, we barely get to play Arizona. Well, it's like, well, then I would have never even, you know, realized that. And then they come back to play an awesome show, and we get to play with them. We're like, dude, these guys are legit. Like, so you know, you start appreciating all these other bands that are from Arizona, but they've gone to the more touring route, and they're doing that, and so they're not playing too much Arizona anymore. And that's the only reason why sometimes you don't hear about them.
It's, completely agree.
So it's interesting.
So you guys had mentioned Stuck on Repeat. So how's the reception been to that single since you guys released it?
It's my favorite song out of all of them, but I'm just a little biased. I like just how it is raw. I'm not so much on the light end, and I don't like the crazy heavy. I do like right in the middle. Plus, it's just a really fun song to play on the drums. But all that aside, it's the first song we've really put a well thought out music video to. I mean, we've done a few music videos in the past, but this was like layered scenes where we were coming back to scenes, and we had to really think about what we wanted to include on camera because we didn't have a whole lot of song time. We only had, it's a shorter song, it's like 2.5 minutes, but as far as how it's been received, I'd say people are really liking it. I think that and Porcelain have been the most well received out of all of our stuff recently. But yeah, I don't know, Stuck on Repeat, it's a fun song. It's just like full of energy and gets you going.
There was one comment that definitely was like, even though the content itself is talking about a person that's stuck in his ways and things like that, the comment that I saw was, "Oh, the song just makes me want to dance." You know what I mean? I'm like, "Hey,
you're worrying about what it's about."
Yeah, it's like, all right, that's good. So like when we play our shows, we know people are gonna really jump up, get into it, and have a good time. Yeah, the content's a little serious, but at the same time, it's like it doesn't really matter. It's just however you want to, or however you relate to the music is, awesome. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I agree with you completely. I mean, the artist can have an idea behind the song before when it's being written, but yeah, it's essentially up to the fan to analyze it and process it and see how it makes them feel.
Yeah, and it's crazy seeing how some people will interact with the song or just interpret. And we've seen some reactions to Porcelain, for instance, that I just never would have imagined. Just like people connecting, saying things like, I really needed to hear this song at this point in my life, and it's just like, man, I didn't know by putting this out that would make an impact like that, and it still gives you chills, you know?
Yeah.
Being able to connect with people, it's crazy. Music.
Yeah.
I know music.
Crazy.
So, with your songwriting, going back to the point of having multiple different elements in your songs, when you're going into writing, is there a specific thought process behind it? Like, this song is going to be heavy, or like, is it just kind of write and then see what happens?
It's generally like just playing around with a couple of riffs and then kind of things like that, and then Logan's like, "Ooh, I like that." All right, and then we just kind of go down that road, and then it just all comes together.
Okay.
That's kind of been the...
Yeah, I'd say in the beginning it was kind of scattered. We would just play until we liked what we heard, and then we would start putting things together, and eventually a song would come out. We would have music mapped out. Logan would come in and start singing just gibberish. He wouldn't even have lyrics really, but then he would start plugging in real words, and eventually it would be a song where we could nitpick it. But like now I feel like we're a lot more, what do we want to write about before we dive into that? So we'll pick a topic, we'll think, how's the music going to come out when we start writing that way? Like Porcelain, I feel like we wrote a little bit more emotionally, and I feel like that came out in the song, which is why it is a little more towards that rather than, Captive is like heavy in your face, because we wanted that out of that song.
Yeah, like I think the idea was, Logan was definitely, hey, like, oh, I just want something heavy, you know what I mean? And then we're just playing with some riffs, and then bam, that was like, okay, this is what the route that we're gonna go. Okay. But yeah, it's fun. Like, to be honest, like whenever we get to start writing some new material, it's like we'll have our little times where we're just like, nothing's coming out the way I want it, nothing's kind of connecting, but then eventually we break through that barrier, and then also it just happens. It starts all coming together, and then we're like, oh, now we got the verse, now we got the chorus, now we know what needs to be shortened, what needs to be longer, what does it feel right? Yeah. We get to start examining the song and being like, what is it that we do or don't like about it, and then make our changes based off of that.
Okay. Oh yeah. Well, you guys have played a multitude of different kind of shows, from house shows to opening for Warped Tour. Do you guys have a preference? I mean, would you say that you enjoy the bigger shows, or just small intimate things like a house show?
I'd say there's pros and cons to each. Usually when it comes to us taking a show, we have to ask ourselves, what is it we're trying to do at the time? So if our bank account's depleted and we need some money, we're going to play a show that's going to give us some more return. Yeah. And that might not be the biggest exposure shows, because typically, like, if you're opening for a bigger band, you're not going to make the most amount of money. Yeah. And that's just kind of how promoters, I guess, seem to work, but I don't want to dive into that. I'm not trying to dive into that. I just
we'll just say it's, there's the pay to play basically model that's out there, and that's not really where you go for return. So it's basically based off of what is it that we're trying to do at the time. Those big shows like that we're opening for big bands, that's more of just trying to get more just exposure. It's just like trying to get ourselves in front of their fans, and hopefully there's some crossover. They like us, and then they look us up, and we've actually gotten a lot of like core fans from those shows.
Oh yeah.
But when it comes down to, hey, if we need some money, then we'll like look into the idea about big festival shows, or where they outright just set you up how much they're going to pay you, or what is it? Or putting on our own.
Yeah, I was gonna say DIY seems to be the most lucrative.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of investment, but once you get past that initial, then anything you're selling is yours. You know, you are the promoter at that point. So
Yeah.
you can make a lot more, but you're not quite as exposure. You don't have as much exposure with those shows just because they don't have the big names behind them. So that's all I meant earlier is, well, usually it seems like we're either trying to make some money or we're trying to go for some exposure. But stuff like Warped Tour, I mean, that's an obvious. There's no money involved. We're not making anything, but that's 100% exposure. Because it's like everybody in Arizona that loves this music, and we're not going to have any other place that have them all in one spot, you know? So that's just an example.
Exactly, yeah. But in terms of like the ones that we like to play the most, again, that it just kind of, I think for me, it's like I like to play them all, you know?
Yeah.
It's either way, we're meeting new people, you know, and it's, I think when you play the more local shows, it's more of a closer community, and you get to be able to be, I think, not just more your real selves, but you just are able to see people in a different perspective, different light, versus at a venue that is, you know, it's just a different environment. I think everybody's there for different reasons at that point. Whereas a house show, it's like, hey, we're going just to have fun. Like, that's the only reason why we're there.
I love house shows because there's not nearly as much pressure. You're there to have fun with people. It's a party. Like, no one's harassing you. You don't have sound guy like, yo, what are you doing? 15 minutes. What's going on? But alternatively with the venue, you've got like professional stage, you know, you've got lighting, you got mics and everything, and it just goes both ways. I mean, if you're trying to have a packed house show and everybody's like shoulder to shoulder, that's great. It's a lot of fun. If you want to have a venue, then you're playing that kind of a show. I love either or. I don't think there's one or the other. I'll take a show.
Yeah, pretty much.
More than fair enough. So, one thing I have noticed about you guys recently is your guys' social media presence is huge. I feel like sometimes online interaction is taken for granted. So do you guys have any tips for anyone that is looking to improve on the social media front?
Have every single member be involved. Like, that's really that's kind of been the kicker for I think us. It's we all are on board as like, okay, we're gonna release this on this day, and as soon as we release it from the band page, we're all gonna share it from our personal pages. And if anybody comments, go ahead and you know, respond to those. Make sure you you do your likes. If anybody does share it, thank them for it. Like, it's you do have to be all in order for it to kind of grow.
Social media is definitely a tool that can be used to help you in a lot of ways, especially if you're like trying to grow your fan base. It's like if you're putting music out there and people are actually sharing it and liking it, to ignore them would just be shooting yourself in the foot. You have to be responding. You have to be thanking people. It's like they're the ones that are helping you actually get out there, so you have to be engaged with your audience. Well, for us, it's like we know what of the week we want to post what content, whatever we're trying to go for. So we just talk to each other. It's communication, scheduling. If we know this is going up, everybody go on and share it. Make sure you're helping spread the word with whatever we're trying to post. So sometimes it's a music video, sometimes it's an interview, sometimes it's whatever the case. But
it's definitely, you know, we kind of built like a schedule of different things that we want to be able to talk about in social media. So having that broken down, we even have a calendar on our door of different things, that events that are kind of going on. So luckily, our idea is just content. And that's kind of been the main driving force of keeping up our social media. If we didn't have content, then we would just fade away, you know, and like you wouldn't be hearing about too much what we're doing. So the idea is, whether or not we're actually recording, what else are we doing? You know, so that's kind of been the main drive for our social media, and it's been working. Apparently, since you're like, hey, you guys are doing awesome with social media. It's good that people are noticing. Like that's I guess for us. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and honestly, whether or not it's your drum through videos or the monthly recaps that you guys have had, like I said, you guys have just been killing it. Like, as far as your I feel like the amount of content is definitely there, the quality of the content is there, and it's just stuff that as a fan we just want to engage with. So
Awesome.
yeah.
And so we've been seeing the growth. Like when our first monthly video that we put out, like nobody watched it. Nobody watched it.
I think it's still snowballing, and we're still like within the first year of doing it. And I'm just excited to hit that 1 year mark, because the idea is at the end of every month we talk about what we did. So at 12 months we'll have a full year to be able to look at everything we've done in that year.
Kind of make that list, make that awesome list. Be like, wow, we did a lot in 2018, you know, and just be able to be proud of something like that, because it takes work, you know, and you know, you do all of this, like it's not something where you're just like, oh, I can take about 10 minutes out of my day, put some social media stuff together, and it's done. It takes hours, takes planning, it takes time. So we put a lot of effort into it, and we're starting to see the return on our investment of putting a lot of time into it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I think prior to doing those monthly recaps, we didn't really have a way to say, here's what we've done outside just posts, but people would have to then go back and see when you did what. So I think the recaps are good in that sense, but also during the recaps, we're able to talk about what's coming up. So it's just a good way to hype and follow through with what we're talking about. So I love the recaps, they're a lot of fun.
Oh, and we were not good at them in the very oh man, it took hours just to do the first video, because we were just like stuttering, not knowing what we're saying. It's just like, it was really, really bad.
We should really look into releasing the outtakes.
Yes.
The hours and hours of outtakes that we have. Oh man.
Yeah, you'll get like a perfectly clean slate, and then someone will just say one word and just fucks everything.
We're just like, oh.
You gotta go back and redo it all.
Yeah. But you know, it takes time. You know, not everybody's just born for the camera.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay. Like now I can do things without stuttering. Now I can do things just based off of rehearsing. And I'm like, okay, my brain knows what I need to say next, and finally it starts coming out naturally. You know, versus.
Just like
and then big old space in your head because you don't know what to say next.
Yeah, I mean, before we started, we weren't doing that kind of a video to that extent, so it's not like we had everybody lined up, you all had something to say. But like now that we've been doing it for so long, it's just like we push play and it's over like as soon as we set it up. Like it's getting a lot quicker, so it's more and more fun each time we do it.
Oh yeah. Well, so question for you guys. So there's been kind of a shift in the industry, whereas a lot of it seems like we're transitioning from the album cycle to release to everybody dropping singles. Do you guys have an opinion on that, or is there a specific route that you guys are taking for albums versus singles, or do you have one that you prefer?
Nostalgia-wise, I always will love the album, based off of the way I grew up and things like that. But since the industry and just the way people listen to music now is on the single basis, and they stream everything they just go to iTunes or Spotify and they pick the song that they want. It kind of just made everything go that way. It just all went that way. So it's not something that I feel we are able to really control. It's just the idea that this is where the industry's at now, and since that's the way it is, we're just kind of going with the flow. And so that's why we've been doing the 3 singles. It was like we wanted to see how this model actually goes, and we're actually pretty happy with the way people are responding to it. Again, love the albums. I love the amount of time it takes to put into an album, to theme out an album and everything, but it just feels like the industry is just not there anymore. Yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, I agree with you. The albums, it's like, it's cool to have something physical, you know, like it's so cool when you can open it and you see the inside of a booklet with photos that you can only see on the actual album. They come with lyrics and just like the thank you section. Like, albums are awesome, but I think we do live in a world where we're streaming everything nowadays. So it's not to say that albums are gone, it's just singles seem to be more relevant because you can just go on and stream it really quick. You don't necessarily need to print out a physical version of that and, you know, not only produce it, but then get it out to everybody. It's like, it's a lot of money. For me, that's the biggest thing about, like, I would love for us to do an album, but it is so expensive. So it's like, it's budgeting. It's like,
Right.
We knew we'd only released the one single in 2017, so coming into 2018, a full length wasn't quite on our table that we could accomplish, but we knew we needed songs out, so singles, it was easy. We could pick 3 different singles, pump them out, see how people like them, and it still keeps us keeping momentum and just,
relevant.
Yeah.
Because I guess the idea too about singles is you're able to keep yourself relevant in a spaced out amount of time.
Yeah.
An album, when you release it, they have access to all the songs. It's just like Netflix. Like they release the entire season, you could binge it, and then once you're done, are you going to still listen to it?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's how some people might be. They're like, oh, well, I picked my 3 or 2 favorite songs out of it, and everything else I don't listen to anymore. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's kind of like, it's frustrating, but I think that's the way a lot of people are. So if you're kind of just saying, no, here's one song, listen to this song, let's put all of our PR and like focus on this song, they're like, okay, I'll listen to that song.
Yeah.
and you keep on doing that, it makes every song very relevant.
Yeah.
Versus a couple of singles and then you got your album.
Yeah.
You know, it's harder to keep the entire album relevant versus one song at a time.
Yeah, and that was a perfect analogy with the Netflix, by the way. Like,
just binge it.
Yeah, because I agree with both of you completely. Like, I feel like when it comes to, let's say, a 12-song album, why would you release a 12-song album that's only going to be streamed heavily for a month when you could release 12 singles, 1 per month, and get hype going and have that hype for the entirety of the year?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just like feels right. Like in today's world, it back then like different way, different way how marketing was, different way how everything was. But yeah, it just feels right? Like you have 12 songs, 12 months out of the year. There you go. It's like you got your full year of just promotion, all hyped up about your band. So yeah, it's
different approaches.
Yeah.
So if you had the, let's say in a perfect world where either one were viable, do you have one that you would prefer?
Well, again, nostalgia-wise, I love the album, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things where it's just amazing in so many different ways, especially to do it on vinyl and to have some awesome options in that route. I know Logan loves that aspect, and we would like, if we had the budget, we would do like maybe even 3D vinyl. I don't know, like we would probably trick it out, and have some real fun with it. But of course, budget's a huge factor when you're a DIY band and you're just trying to do everything without a label. So it's, I think if we have backing, definitely it's like, let's go for the full length. Let's just go all out and do it that way. But as a DIY band, we're just kind of making sure that we're doing it the most budget-friendly way possible.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And so, touching on the DIY aspect, is a label signing something that After the Con would be interested in the near future?
I don't know if it's ever been something we've talked about, because we've tried to see how much we can do by ourselves without having to bring someone else in. I mean, ideally, in a perfect world, you could do everything by yourself, but you also have to be able to accept the fact that you can't necessarily do everything by yourself, so it is a matter of being flexible to work with people. I would be interested to know what we'd be able to do if we had an offer like that, but it would be really fleshing out the details, because you don't want to get yourself stuck into something that you feel trapped. You don't want to feel like someone else is writing your music or telling you that you have to do this or this. And I've heard horror stories, but at the same time, I mean, if you can get support and funding, there's pros and cons. It's like no matter how you look at it, there's always going to be pros and cons.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, on my side, in terms of like labels, I think let's see how much we can do by ourselves first.
Yeah.
It's definitely I think it actually makes us more valuable that way, right? If we're a well-oiled machine doing awesome on our own, then they're like, oh, we don't have to really do much for these guys, and to really like push them and get them out there. Versus a band that doesn't have anything at the beginning, they're like, oh, well, we get to make the rules.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you really want this, then we get to make the rules. You don't really have anything to actually barter with. Yeah. Versus a band that's like really, hustling and doing their thing. At that point, they're like, hey, we've been doing fine on our own. So what do you actually want to do to help us out and actually make it, worth both our times and both, and that's, so is it down the road? Don't know. I think for us, let's see how well we can kind of make this machine run, and then see how what next year, I guess, takes us, because 2019, I think that's where we want to make some big moves in the touring world.
Ooh, okay. Well, that would actually lead to the next question. So
you're asking the questions for me.
So what does 2019 have in store for you guys? Well, that you can say.
Right.
I think really we're just trying to push out of Arizona. I think that's the biggest roadblock that we run into. It's like hitting the reset button. I mean, we've been in Phoenix for so long. We've made friends. We've played so many different venues, but the moment you step outside your home state, no one knows who you are.
Yeah, it's back to zero.
It's hard. I give everybody credit who's able to pull it off. That's what I'm seeing. It's definitely not an easy cakewalk or anything.
It's definitely.
But I'm excited. I'm so stoked to just be able to go out there and meet new people, and people are excited when you come to their hometown. They're just like, wow, you're from wherever. It's like suddenly you're exotic.
Ooh, you never come around here.
I mean, we've played
from Arizona. What?
Yeah, we've played one-offs, but I think it's just people. They take you seriously at a different level when you are from somewhere else. It's like you made it all the way over here, and now you're playing in my venue or whatever the case is. So I'm excited. We've played a couple one-off shows in Cali and even just cities around Phoenix like Tucson and Flag, and it's just cool seeing people that have no idea who we are. Yeah. Because it's just first impression, and then that's enough to be able to talk to somebody. I don't know. It's cool. I love how we can connect with people like that.
Yeah, but definitely pushing out of Arizona. That's the biggest key. 2019. That's the goal. That's the goal for sure.
And to your point, I mean, this is just me personally, but I mean, I can't wait to say that I'm in a touring band. Hopefully someday. Just that level of satisfaction, just knowing that hey, we established ourselves in our state, and now we're to the point where we can leave. So I'm very excited for that, and I would imagine that you guys are. Definitely look forward to that.
I think we're there. We just need the cards to fall in place. Yeah. Budgeting again is always huge. It's how are you going to be able to pull this and this off? So.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many factors, and I think it's funny because outside when you're first thinking about making a band or when you're a kid, this is not at all the things that you thought you were going to be thinking about, talking about, figuring out. There's actually things you got to plan before you get to do any of that stuff. It's more I just thought it just comes with it.
Yeah. If you're not involved with doing it, there's so many things you have no idea. It's just crazy. Prior to being in bands, you'd think, they hit the road, they play in different places, but you don't think about logistics. There's so much that goes into it. You got to map out what cities are you going to, how are you getting there, who's paying for gas, who's driving.
Is the route actually efficient on your gas?
Not only that, the biggest thing that I see so far for us is just getting the locals in other states to actually care that we're there. Right now, why would they have any reason to? They don't know who we are. So it's you got to give people a reason to want to play with you, and I think that's where we're at, is just trying to meet new people. For instance, Waking Things, they were a band that was from Seattle. They hit us up and said, hey, we're coming through Phoenix in August. Can you guys help us? So we more or less played a show with them and had 2 other vocals, and it was just a good way to get them exposed to our audience. And we were very upfront with them. We will help you however you want. Can you help us when we come to Seattle? So that was so we hit it as hard as we possibly could. Some sort of sense of pride in that, because it's we definitely put a lot of time and energy into getting people to go out. We wanted to give them the best time they could have here in Arizona. I mean, at least with what we had, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, putting together those little social media little ads that I did, it's we were trying to really do something different and get people just to notice it. And I think that's what we try to do with all of our social media. It's whenever there's a show that we're promoting, we got to try to do something ad-wise, whether it's on Instagram or whatever it is, to hype it up. It's not just, it can't just be word of mouth. we're not, don't get me wrong, helps out a lot, but you got to have a whole marketing campaign that you kind of want to go about it. So
it's a lot of trial and error, just seeing what works and what doesn't.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and you really can't rely on just word of mouth anymore, because like there's so many bands that people come up to me and they're just like, hey, check out this band, check out this band. Like just saying check out this band really doesn't do that much these days, because there are so many bands out there for somebody to check out.
Yeah. It's hard.
It's like, oh, thanks. I'm gonna add them to the 5,000 bands I'm supposed to be checking out. They're like, thanks, appreciate that.
It's crazy because sometimes you get around and you actually check that band out and you're like, why was I sleeping on this?
Yes.
And you didn't know because you had a freaking ever long list growing.
Yeah. These days you have to. You can't just wait for people to check you out. You have to be proactive in getting people to actually check you out and
putting your face in front of them, even though that they're like not expecting it. It's like, hey, there you go.
Put yourselves in front of as many people as possible. Like,
definitely.
So that actually leads to the next question there. Like, when will we get to see your faces? When are you guys playing live next?
The next show is November 10th. It's our benefit show that we are working with the Arizona Humane Society on. That was a huge thing that we felt passionate about. Is like every year we've been working with them and doing something different, and definitely this year was like, let's do a show.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. This is our third year working with them. The first 2 years we had done car washes, but it was fun because it was just to be able to say our band has helped raise money for the animals. That's just cool in itself. But
after being part of the community.
Yeah. After 2 years of car washes, this year we were just like, what can we do differently? And then we realized we could put on a show. Like we've put on shows before for ourselves, so why don't we just put on a show and give the money to them? And
hell yeah.
It's been. Obviously the show hasn't come yet, but so far there's been a lot of hype around it. The band's involved, they're just really excited to be doing that.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things that excited me, because we can go out there and we can raise money, and people could or could not show up to the car wash, but when you get a show like this, now you've got other bands telling their friends, and it's more than just us raising money. It's all the bands plus the venue being able to give us the place. I mean, Pub Rock, they let us have the place for free that night. So
damn nice.
It's very important to note something like that, because if you're gonna set up your own show, you're gonna pay for venue costs.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna pay for tickets, and you're gonna make your return. But for something like this, it's like they know we're trying to put this on as a benefit show. They'll save us the money there so that we can raise more money for the Humane Society. You know what I'm saying? So it's like stuff like that. It's just so incredibly awesome that we can say we're putting on a show like that.
Yeah, and shout out to Pub Rock for actually doing that for free. That's
Pub
amazing.
Rock is awesome. I'm so excited for that show.
Bobby Hendricks,
Bobby Hendricks.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of our, this is our first ever fundraising show, and to know that they were willing to do that, that's like, whoa, okay. So it just makes it that much easier on us to be able to try to put it together. So it's awesome. Yeah, definitely.
And then you get to do things like interact with the actual Humane Society, and like this being our third year, they know who we are, and it's just cool being able to say, hey, we're doing this for you this year. And
they're all excited,
you can see everybody on that end just get excited. Like it's the fact that we can go down there and they know who we are. It's like, it's awesome. Like they're so cool to work with.
And come on, like, who doesn't love puppies and cats? Like, you know what I mean? It's
like, no matter when you go down there's always animals that are going to need something, no matter if it's blankets, if it's food, if it's shots, or maybe even they had like, I don't know, surgeries coming up that they need. Like that money goes to so many different things, so it's cool to know that we can help. I mean, even if it's just getting a dog to live long enough to be adopted. I think it's cool.
It's awesome to know that we had any kind of effect on that. That's just like cool. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, like we're glad that we're actually trying to do something that's community based. I think that was the kind of like the thing that we've been trying to do ever since the beginning, in the sense of, well, are we just a band, or are we like anybody else? Because even businesses, they go in and help with different fundraisers. They help and they find causes that they're passionate about, and they help. It's almost like we're treating it the same way. It's like, what now that we're in this community of awesome musicians, what can we do to help out the community as well and grow that. And now we're getting other bands involved that are super stoked about it. It's like, is this going to be an every year kind of thing? I don't know, but it's definitely growing, and it's not just us anymore. And it's like it's cool. It's just this big snowball effect. Yeah.
Dude, hell yeah.
I'm really hoping that other bands are just encouraged and they do charity, whether it's with the Humane Society or Children's Hospital, wherever. It's cool. I mean, 3 years ago we started asking ourselves what could we do to step up. Charity came to mind, and then we just leaned towards Humane Society, and it's just cool to know that we play music just for fun, and like we can now say that music also helps other people. Like, it's crazy.
That's amazing, guys. Like, I genuinely, that's awesome. Like, I'm glad that you guys are doing that.
It's fun. It's exciting.
So do you guys have any pre-show routines?
Pre-show routines.
I feel like show day is always the most stressful, but in like in the most exciting ways. Like I always get like the most pent up butterflies. Like all day, I just feel like my stomach is in knots. But it's exciting because I know I'm going to see all my friends and family. Like it's going to be a good night. There are things that go wrong occasionally, but you just got to be ready for those things. I mean.
Yeah,
some random examples, like just drum stuff. Like I've had a snare snap out on me mid-set, so it's like, how do I fix this? Like you just gotta be ready for little things like that. But show days are just so busy, but exciting at the same time. And I don't know, I feel like I can go on about it.
Yeah,
pre-show rituals though.
Pre-show rituals. Yeah, for me, it's just stay busy. That has been my thing. I'm always trying to make sure everything is like ready, like we're all good before, because we have, when you play shows, depending on promoter or whatever, you're like, oh, gotta collect all the money. Oh, okay, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. It's just one of those things where you just want to make sure all your ducks in a row, so then when we are on stage, it just flows. Yeah. I'm just not like freaking out at all. It's just like, all right, we're good. We play our hearts out, like just do what we gotta do. We bring it, and then call it a day. Yeah. And after that, we get to relax, hang out with everybody else, and just chill. So
I'd say before hitting the stage, it's important to do stretches. Yeah. So if we're talking pre-show rituals, because I don't know, if I go up there and I didn't even like try to warm up, you can freeze up, you can lock up. You're not ready. You're not fluid.
Yeah, I guess
stretching is always good because you're just ready. It's the same thing as working out. It's like you want to make sure you stretch before you go and do whatever it is you're trying to do. There's nothing weird like lighting fired circles or anything like that. Sacrificing things.
Yeah, no actual rituals in that sense. But
we dress up like pagans.
Well, I will say this: like, if there is something that we're not fully ready for, like we barely learned something new, then I will be in the parking lot practicing away. Yeah. It's just to make sure that when I'm on stage, I don't forget. But most of the time now, it's we have enough practice. We practice twice a week, so that kind of helps. Oh, we're good, or we'll practice the day before the show, just to make sure that we're fresh, and then the next day we're like solid.
Yeah, so pre-show ritual is practice.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
That's our pre-show ritual.
Our pre-show ritual is practice and not freaking out the next day because we're like, oh, did you remember this part?
And then you got to worry about all the people hitting you up on the day of the show trying to buy a ticket as well.
Yeah, that's why you brought up earlier turning tickets in, because it's like very rarely have we had everything organized before the day of the show. Like it's usually the day of the show, people are still hitting us up, so we're still trying to collect money, still trying to get everything together. For those of you guys that don't know, it's like when you're playing a show, you turn the ticket into the promoter, so it's like you need all that before the doors open. So when people are coming last second, you're like, okay, we want this sale,
right.
But you also got to have it done by this time, so it's always a fun time.
Yes, and please, going forward, if you are a fan and you are going to buy a ticket, I understand you don't get paid till Friday, but please just try and save $10, $20 so you don't have to buy it on the day of the show. We appreciate your support, but...
If you do, we're definitely going to take the ticket sale no matter what. But just know that we are going through some hoops for that ticket.
Yes. And understand it probably came out of our pocket, so if you don't actually show up,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Then we just bought your ticket.
Yeah, we just bought. Yeah.
Love you, Max. Anyways.
Oh, I could talk about that for all day. All day.
We'll talk about a list.
Let's talk about a list.
For little gems for anybody who's been following you guys for a little while here, are there any songs in your discography that you guys personally love to play versus songs that just not too stoked to play?
Well, for Logan, he definitely doesn't like to play the cover of Cups anymore. he's over it. He's definitely over it. In terms of me, the one that I'm actually like I really love. It's a toss up because I really love Stuck on Repeat, just like how Cody is. But of course, it's because it's our latest one. I think like most musicians lean to the latest stuff because it's new. But if it comes to an earlier song, it would be Bragging Rights.
Okay, hell yeah.
Yeah, I like it because it has like a cool little break. Like I don't know, it kind of reminds me of almost some Korn or like Deftones things. It just has this cool like little like. You want to bob your head to it. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I really like playing that live. It's really, really, really fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I fall into that category of musicians that like the newer stuff. Like what you were just saying.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just feel like I naturally want to play the newer stuff that we have because that's what we're relevant like to today's days. So we're trying to get that information out to people. And I feel like those are the songs that are just the most fun to play. But not to bash the earlier stuff. I mean, I love going back. It's just now it's like 3 years old and it's like Valor was the first song we released out. I would say that's peaked by now. Like it's not gonna. Hopefully that song doesn't just blow up out of nowhere. I mean,
that would be hilarious.
I mean, not to say hopefully, that'd be cool, but like I'm just saying, it seems like we got as much as we could have out of our first song. Yeah. So like that. Right. To me, we can set it down now. We can move on to the next stuff. But I feel like that's kind of always how it's gonna be. For me, anyways.
Yeah.
I will say this though. What's funny is that you say that. If we were to play any of these songs outside of Arizona, it's all new.
True. Yes.
It's all new to them. So like Valor could blow up outside of Arizona and
on that note, it is new to everybody who doesn't know it, but if you're listening to Valor versus Stuck on Repeat, like you can tell there's 3 years of a difference in who we are. Like that's what I mean, is that we've grown as musicians, so it's like you can hear that in the song. And I think that's just why I lean towards the newer stuff. I want you to know who we are, not who we were. Yeah. That's kind of how I look at it anyways.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Completely.
There's no songs that I don't like. I mean, Logan is definitely vocal about not liking cups.
It will be at practice. He just sees it on the list on the things that we need to play next during practice.
What he'll do is he'll like purposely act like it doesn't exist. Like, he won't acknowledge it, so we don't have to bring it up, so it doesn't have to be played.
It's pretty funny. We love you, Logan.
Oh man. So for anybody who hasn't checked you guys out, I guess to be blunt, why should they?
Well, if they love, a mixture between Blink-182 and, what would be the other band that...
I feel like they could fall into a lot. A Day to Remember always comes to my mind, but...
Okay, yeah, A Day to Remember, definitely.
It's weird when people ask me what genre are we, I feel like there's so many subgenres nowadays. It's like, if you're talking to someone like, for instance, someone from work, like they might not know all the intricate, like, mini subgenres, so I'll just say it's rock. Yeah. But it's like other people, I'll be like, it's in between pop punk and post-hardcore. It really depends on the song, whatever we've written about, but I don't know, as far as new people listening to us, it's just, we're 5 down-to-earth dudes that are just trying to play music, and I don't know, I feel like we've made a lot of genuine connections with people, so that's what we have going for us, is that we can just make new friends.
If there's anything, it's to say that, we put all of ourselves into this, and that I think in itself is one reason just to even just listen to one song and see if you guys like it, because I really do think, just like how Cody said, we range in terms of our sound, so there's almost something there for everyone. Yeah. So if you're into the heavier, if you're into the lighter, there's something. And so we think that someone new would love one of our songs. And hey, if you don't love them all, that's perfectly fine too. But again, making that connection.
So yeah, finally, do you guys have any closing words?
Thank you for having us, man.
I'll say thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely
had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's cool to talk about this, especially on a deeper level.
Oh yeah.
I like just what you guys are doing with your band. Just what you're doing with this platform is an awesome thing that you're doing. So keep it going.
Thank you.
It helps out the scene. Especially keeping everybody informed. But again, having a platform to freely express yourselves.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really awesome.
I really like the whole podcast idea that you're moving towards too. So if you're interested in inviting us in the future, maybe we can get Logan next time or something. But
Yeah,
of course.
it's a really cool idea. He was telling us earlier that we could have different bands talking about specific topics, which would be great because it's like,
yeah, definitely.
even today I'm thinking like I want to post about this topic, but I don't want to be eaten alive.
Yeah.
So it's
Oh my god.
But
Yeah.
I would love to be able to just sit down and to share thoughts on any one topic that's controversial in the music scene. It's like people have different opinions on it. I'd love to be able to see what people think, and
Right, definitely.
so yeah, I'm excited to see where Arizona Breakdown goes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you guys for coming, and thank you for watching, especially if you're still watching the end of the video.
Yeah,
Kudos to you.
You made
I know.
But I want to say thank you to Cody and David from After the Com for coming down today. Once again, my name is Andre. Thank you for watching the Arizona Breakdown, and till next time.
Later.
You guys.